going on, everybody? This is Toy Addict 26 back again with an advanced look at the brand new Thundercats Ultimates Wave 2 Tygra action figure from Super 7. This is a figure that people have been waiting for over 2+ years, folks. Due to production issues, issues with the factory where these figures were produced, and a combination of all the problems brought about by COVID, it's taken this long to get this figure in hand, but he's finally here, he's finally home, and he's ready to join the Thundercats on my toy shelf. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. The figure comes in the same standard, beautiful, elegant Thundercats clamshell box. We're going to remove the slip cover here to reveal Tygra underneath. And there he is. So, straight off the bat, to begin with, I know there's a lot of things, a lot of people have been, voicing their opinion. Some are happy, most are not. This is a very different Tygra than what was shown when the original pre-order solicitations came out from Super 7. The Tygra that was on display at PowerCon last fall was completely different. He was a blend of baby blue and more of kind of like the blue that you see here on the Bolo Whips. And he did have a much brighter orange, similar to what the prototype and solicitation images depicted. Now, the final form, which I believe this is the final form because I have the first review sample in hand in the US, is a very much darker orange, and we've got more of the LJN colorways on this figure. Now, when I say LJN, is because the LJN figures were colored this way. But if you look at the cartoons, Tygra had two different colors, and it's similar to the whole thing with the brown and blue coat on Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. Some people saw blue, some people saw brown. In reality, there was both colors. Same thing goes for Tygra. In some episodes, he looked more like this, more like a teal and a greenish blue. And in some episodes, he looked more along the lines of the baby blue and the darker blue. So whichever way you look at it, he is still correct and he's still cartoon accurate. But let's go ahead and take a more in-depth look, take him out of the package, and see everything else about this character. So the figure, here he is, basically with everything that's in package. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of goodies here. So we have the alternate head, which has kind of like an angry expression. I want to say more like a kind of like a hissing face. He's got the teeth exposed. It's very nicely detailed. Again, it's just this really dark orange that, it stands out a lot. But the paint apps are very clean. The eyes are painted very clean. So are the eyebrows, the lines on the hair. I don't see any, misapplications of paint or anything like that. So that's great. And then we have the regular head, which you can see here. He has kind of a smiling expression, which is cool because I like that. Rather than give him just a boring, serious face, they kind of give him that smirk. That looks really cool. And again, the regular head, nice paint apps. Everything is clean. Eyebrows are clean. Eyes are clean. Very nice applications. The one thing that I do notice is that the head tends to sit really low on the neck, so it gives a perception like no neck. So what I'm doing is I'm raising the head slightly, almost pulling it off the ball, and just kind of resting it there, and it looks much better. So, and that also gives you more leeway with the articulation on the neck. Because if you push it all the way down, see when it pops, you get very limited range of motion, basically just swivel and slight angular, but barely any motion. So if you pull up the head like so, you're going to get a lot more range of motion. Although I think like these figures would significantly benefit from a hinged neck peg, similar to what we see in Marvel Legends nowadays. So immediately noticeable is a paint blotch here in the neck area. You could see kind of like the graininess, like when they painted it. I'm not sure if that comes off good on camera, but it's pretty noticeable there. He also has a little bit of battle damage. There's a little battle scar right here on the chest. Other than that, it looks like there's some speckling in the abdomen area, which is like kind of like gray spots. And if you look, there's kind of like an airbrush to it where they kind of did the whole six-pack, like they airbrushed like a gray or a darker turquoise gray tone to highlight the shadows of the abdomen. So that's pretty cool. Then you've got the gold on the shoulder bracer. It's painted really nice. It's a metallic gold. Here, when we turn the figure in the back, there's some noticeable paint misapplications here, or just the way it was painted, like maybe the brushes they used, they left little stains here and there scattered around. Nothing significant, but it is noticeable. The plastic tends to look like, for example, in the legs and arms, it looks like it's molded in this same color plastic. And very noticeable is the absence here of the, I would call it the arm bracelet. Some people call it the elbow pad. And that's something else that was also not absent in the prototype, in-package prototype that was on display at PowerCon last fall. So not quite sure what happened between then and now in the sense of the drastic changes in the darker orange and going more with a turquoise and teal blue on the suit. But again, it's still cartoon accurate. The emblem, Thundercats emblem on the chest is painted very clean. There is a noticeable little mark there, kind of like on the jaw of the cat emblem. The lines, the stripes on the forearms are pretty clean, but there is some noticeable paint application flaws here, for example, on the cufflinks. So while the head is pretty clean, the rest of the body tends to have a lot of little noticeable things, like you see this little dot here. The calves seem to be all right. When you look down at the feet, slight misapplications of paint here and there. But again, nothing significant, nothing that really like looks hideous or anything on the figure. I overall think the figure looks great. It's just, very different than the color scheme that everybody was expecting to receive. The cool thing about this is that because he is portrayed in the two different colors in the animated series, I'm pretty sure it's very easy for Super 7 to make the more blue-toned Tygra with a lighter orange in the near future and offer it as a variant, possibly with the old and withered head sculpt from when he goes into the cave of time and he becomes elderly. So that would be a good opportunity where they could just give us like a Tygra 2.0 with the light blue and regular navy highlights, and then just throw in those alternate parts. So it's like if you're, basically making a different Tygra, but it's completely justifiable, not just to fix the colors. Going on to the rest of the accessories here, he has two kind of claw or attacking hands, right and left, two gripping hands, left and right. The hands are all painted or molded in a solid plastic. That's the tone of the lighter skin tone on Tygra. And then we have the Bolo Whip. We have three versions of it. So we have the closed Bolo Whip that he would just kind of hold in his hand when he's traveling around, walking around, but he's not really, hasn't encountered any mutants or anything. He's just chilling. Then you've got the rope Bolo Whip, which is basically a rope. It's kind of like a really cool, it's a cool fabric, cool material that they used for this rope. It's kind of like got a metallic sheen to it, almost like a twine. And then the bolos are on a solid plastic piece. So there's three prongs with the bolo balls. Not sure how much you could do with this other than like when he's wrapping it around him, or like you could, I guess, pose it around a mutant or something, like if he's pulling him or something like that, or use it as a grappling hook. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with toy photography and creativity, but you have that version of the Bolo Whip, and then you have the one that I'm most likely going to use, which is the posed out Bolo Whip. And this one's really cool because it's in a dynamic pose to reenact that whipping motion. It's not bendy, but it does seem like it's slightly maneuverable. Like, I don't think it doesn't stay in a specific pose, but I'm sure if you want to wrap it around a figure, it'll stay in that pose as long as it's being held by something, so if you want to do something like that, but you see it'll come back undone. So yeah, we have those three types of Bolo Whips. Let's go ahead and put this on one of the gripping hands. And so it looks like he has two gripping hands, and by the looks of it, they might be identical. Let's take a look. So we have this gripping hand, which came with a figure in package. And then we have this gripping hand. And it seems like... All right, so here's the difference. This one has the thumb coming closer down on the fingers, while this one's kind of like slightly raised. Not quite sure what the significance of that is, but the good thing is we're not getting two identical closed-fisted or gripping hands. They're not exactly identical. At first glance, they look like it, but they're not. So let's put the Bolo Whip in his hand here. All right. And just kind of like play around with the poses here. Raise his arm. There you go. He's holding his Bolo Whip, ready for action, ready to take on some mutants. He looks really cool. He looks really awesome. It's great to finally have all the male A-listers from the Thundercats team. Now we're only missing Chitara, which should be coming very soon. Hopefully sometime like in May. But let's take a quick look at articulation. So articulation is pretty much the standard that we've seen on all Super 7 Ultimates Thundercats. So we have the ab crunch, which tends to work better arching the back. He can go this far back and this far forward. Doesn't crunch too much at the front. He has the swivel cut at the waist. He has the swivel and hinge joints at the shoulders here. Has the bicep cut swivel. Then he has pegless elbow joints, but it's only what looks to be like a hinge. Yeah, it's only a hinge. So a hinge joint at the elbow, pegless. And then we have the hinge and the swivel at the wrist. The head is on a single ball peg. Just going to pop the head off here to show you. So this barely moves. You can see it just kind of like shifts forward a little bit and back. And then the head kind of sits on there. As I was mentioning before, if you put the head, just sit it on there, he looks much better and the neck is more pronounced, as in comparison to when you pop the head in, it looks more like he has no neck. But if you slightly raise it off without it popping off the peg, it'll look a little better. So the legs, well, you got the crotch underpants. They're like a soft rubber, so it doesn't really hinder range of motion. And the good thing, it's cut open here, so it allows the legs to spread out. He can do pretty much a full split. And then he has the swivel and hinge joint at the inner thigh there, at the upper thigh. The knees are a single hinge joint at the knee, but then the cool thing is at the boot cut, he has a swivel. So that's a little extra articulation there that we can always use to pose out these awesome Thundercats in really dynamic poses. And then last but not least, the ankles. The ankles have a rocker joint, which allows you to pivot the feet to have them flush on the ground when they're in dynamic poses. And then he also has a hinge. The hinge allows you to kick the heel this far back and bring the foot this far up. There's another little flaw here. It looks like a excess piece of plastic sticking out of the inner I forget what I call this, the heel. And there's also the same thing visible on the other side. On the ankles, sorry. So there's these two little protruding pieces of plastic, which they look kind of nasty, but you know, the good thing is they're on the insides of the legs. On the outer sides of the feet, there's nothing like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much the articulation breakdown. You can do a lot of stuff with this guy. Not gonna lie and say I would love to see him have a little more articulation, like I made the suggestion to Brian in my last conversation with him about adding hinge neck pegs. I think that will give these characters a lot of life. Like, for example, here we could be able to make him look up while he's tilted to the side. But unfortunately, because of that single peg that holds the head, there's a lot of limitation to the range of motion. But here we have him ready to attack. And I think it looks great. Really like him. So let's go ahead and pop on the battle damage, or the battle ready head. Take a look and see what that looks like. That one's more suitable for this pose, actually, since he's got this whip in hand. And yeah, that looks awesome. So here is Tygra with the team, the team members that we have thus far. Of course, we're missing Chitara, which should be, reaching our toy shelves very soon, hopefully sometime in the summer. And I gotta say, it looks awesome to finally have like the main core characters all together in a seamless action figure line. You know, in the past, we've had issues with other companies and not completing the line. And this time around, we're finally getting to that, that feeling of, of completion, where we can actually say, wow, I have my Thundercats team. Same goes for the heroes and as well for the mutants. It's an awesome time to be a Thundercats fan and, to really see this toy line grow by leaps and bounds like it is. Wave 5 is around the corner. Wave 6 pre-orders, I'm guessing, will be coming very soon. And we've got the awesome Mandora with her electro charger available for pre-order now at super7.com or participating retailers. Again, this has been an advanced review. First look at Tygra from Super 7 Thundercats Ultimates Wave 2. Thanks for watching. Keep it locked on Toy Addict 26 for the latest toy news and reviews and a look at the rest of Wave 2 of Thundercats Ultimates. I'll see you in the toy house.